I think it's live. It says it's live. Good afternoon, my compadres. It's me, Jimmy James from EOTT. Just thought I'd check in with you all as we have our rabbit hole meeting this evening at 7:30 for those who've been involved in the last couple. It's been pretty awesome. I hope you're all well out there. I know it's quite strange times, all a bit uncertain. Although I hear some of you are living your best lives, enjoying yourselves to the max, spending time with the kids, bike rides, hobbies and crafts and all sorts, which is awesome. And then I know a few of you are out there on the front line, which is not so good, difficult times. So yes, whatever it is you're up to, I hope you're all good. So yeah, I just wanted to check in, really give you an update from last week's rabbit hole meeting. I'm supposed to take notes, but I get so involved and caught up in the conversations that my notes weren't as extensive as I would have liked. But let me just mute my YouTube. Second. Hobbies and crafts and all sorts, which is awesome. And then I know a few. Okie dokie, sorry. Yeah, so just wanted to give you an update. I've took some notes of the stuff we chatted about. I would love to live stream it really, but it would infringe on everyone's privacy really. It wouldn't be the same. So I'll take more extensive notes for this evening's meetup. But yeah, some of the things we discussed, I've been kind of following with posts and whatnot throughout the week. So if I screen share, I can show you a few bits and bobs. We were kind of talking about nutrition, you know, and if I'll come back to this a bit later, but yeah, if foods become kind of scarce and there's rationing and whatnot, which, you know, who knows, perhaps it will, perhaps it won't. It's there's so much we can get from nature. Did an awesome podcast with the Seed Sisters, and this is their life, you know, that's what they've dedicated themselves to, and hopefully you should be able to see the screen. You know, weeds from the garden, which is probably something most of us wouldn't even think of as sustenance. But yeah, I'll keep you going. I remember sharing a cell with a traveller fella, and he used to tell me, you know, they would subsist on, you know, roots and nettles and hedgehogs, which they bake in clay, which is probably not what everyone's sure about hedgehogs, but yeah, you know, there's levels of survival essentially, and you know, the weeds, nettles, hawthorns, berries. I'm sure these grow in most people's gardens, and yeah, the point being is, you know, I think food scarcity can a lot of fear when in reality there isn't much need to be worried because there's plenty around us that can keep us going. And ironically, I think if you did have to live off weeds and berries and nettles for you know, a little while, you'd be healthier than you'd ever been before. So yeah. This one, shut that down, I will see that. This was another post somebody put up, which was an interesting read, which is when our weeds become comfort food. I remember as kids, my grandma used to take dandelion, chickweed, and other basic wild plants, add some spinach, and make the most delicious wild greens toast, which looks awesome on the old flatbread. You find this kind of food in many cultures. In Armenia, they call it jingalov. Kutab in the Caucasus, and I'm sure my Middle Eastern, Greek, or Turkish friends have similar dishes on flatbread. My wild greens are actually making a truly authentic traditional dish. You can check that out for yourself if you want to read any more. There's another one as well, I think. Oh, yeah, we go. Yeah. Wild garlic and nettle soup. We were gifted some wild garlic the other day from a friend's mother's garden, and it was fantastic. Very, very tasty. We made a nice curry with it. So yeah, that was interesting stuff. There's plenty of information out there for all the stuff that's you know, abundant around us. So yeah, that was one of the topics that came up. Karis shared something very interesting with us, which was for those of you into this kind of thing, the resonance frequency, the healing resonance frequency, where the homeopathist, I think, homeopathy practitioners, I believe, have locked down the specific, you know, frequency or resonant frequency to treat the coronavirus. So that's worth a little look. The link is at the top there. I can put it in the description box as well. So yeah, that's check. People talking about the vitamin C and everything else. Karis also shared with us this Lily Kalisko Institute with some interesting research, which you can get into a bit more depth. There's like water experiments and Boswell here as well, which is interesting because my partner's using that for osteoarthritis of the knee, so that was interesting. And then we got on to the interesting topic of how perhaps this kind of our understanding then of viruses might not be as correct as we may have thought. And there's an interesting article that I shared, and it's a little bit lengthy, but I'll give it a quick read just because some people might not have stuff. I'll blast through it nice and quickly, but a very long read, so get your coffee and your feet up. Won't be that long, don't worry. He says, I'm sharing after copying from a trusted friend the shocking truth about viruses and other microorganisms. Louis Pasteur was actually a liar, a coward, and a fraud. Pasteur renounced his own theory on his deathbed. Germ theory was all wrong. It's the terrain, not the germ, quoted Louis Pasteur on his deathbed. Many people have heard the heartbreaking story about Nikola Tesla and how Thomas Edison stole his work and caused him to go bankrupt. All the while, Tesla has been pretty much erased from history books. But how many people know about Antoine, the massive fraud of a man that was Louis Pasteur? Not many, I bet. I remember we talked about Pasteur in medicine throughout history, and the history of medicine, in GCSE history. So it says, not many, I'd bet, as Béchamp was too erased from history. The reason behind this is actually much more sinister than one can imagine. During his lifetime, Antoine Béchamp, from 1816 to 1908, was a well-known and widely respected professor, teacher, and researcher. He was an active member of the French Academy of Sciences and gave many presentations there during his long career. He also published many papers, all of which still exist and are available, and yet he has disappeared from history. On the other hand, Louis Pasteur, 1822 to 1895, is one of the great rock stars of medicine and biology. Of the two, Béchamp or Pasteur, he's the one you've most likely heard of. His is one of the most recognizable names in modern science. Many discoveries and advances in medicine and microbiology are him, including vaccination and the centerpiece of his science, the germ theory of disease. Louis Pasteur was actually a liar, coward, and a fraud. Pasteur renounced his own theory on his deathbed. Germ theory was all wrong. It's the train, not the germ, quoted Louis Pasteur on his deathbed. It's not the bacteria or the viruses themselves that produce the disease. It's the chemical byproducts and constituents of these microorganisms enacting upon the unbalanced, malfunctioning cell metabolism of the human body that enact cellular metabolism and pH is perfectly balanced or poised. It is susceptible to no illness or disease. So in other words, disease-associated microorganisms do not originally produce a disease condition any more than a vulture produces a dead rabbit or rats produce garbage. The diseased acidic cellular environment was created by a toxic diet, toxic environmental exposures, and a toxic lifestyle supporting the morbid change bacteria to viruses, viruses to fungal forms, and fungal forms to cancer cells in the body. This classical error of referring to symptoms as the disease is perpetrated to this day in all medical schools, trickle down from the professors, whose bread is buttered by the pharmaceutical industry, to all med students with the intent of brainwashing the young up-and-coming physicians to a kill mode mindset and to be legal script writers and butchers who perform unnecessary surgical procedures. Daniels, who will attest to that. She was Harvard trained, and she basically said the same thing, essentially. The reason why all physicians are kept in the dark by medical schools teaching Pasteur's germ theory is that if they are taught the truth that it's the inner condition of the patient, i.e. oxygen deprivation, nutritional deficiencies, acidic pH, built-up toxins in and around the cells, poor circulation, toxic emotions, etc., not the germs that create the growth medium for bacteria, parasites, or cancer cell growth, the majority of doctors would throw away their script, pad, and surgical knife and focus their treatment protocols on re-establishing a healthy cellular environment which keeps the germs, bacteria, and virus in check. By killing the viruses, bacteria, or cancer cells with their destructive weapons of war, they trigger microzyma evolution that makes the enemy pathogen stronger by creating resistant strains reaping more disease in the future. Nobody correlates their newly formed disease a year later with the past therapy. The result, if the truth was told, a multi-billion-dollar sick care industry that has been meticulously built by the global elite for a century would be exposed and crumble like the Babylonian Empire of old. There is no medical doctrine so potentially dangerous as a partial truth implemented as whole truth. Because of political reasons, Antoine Béchamp's name and research findings, along with germ theory controversy, have been omitted from history, medical, and biological books, even encyclopedias. It seems that the historical, scientific assassination of Antoine Béchamp resulted in medical science's monopolization of pharmaceuticals and vaccine research. This has meant untold misery for the human race. It's ironic that Pasteur himself was reported to have admitted on his deathbed that Claude Bernard was right. The microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything, but would never give credit for Béchamp's discoveries. Béchamp's discovery in his early research that all living things contain tiny granules, which he named microzymas, was the most profound discovery of the 20th century. Microzymas can trigger either life or death. Inhabit cells, blood, and lymph fluid. They act as both the builder and recycler of organisms. They inhabit cells, the fluid between cells, the blood, and the lymph. In the state of healthy terrain, microzymas act harmoniously and fermentation occurs normally and beneficially, making healthy aerobic microbes like Acidophilus and Bifidus. Under diseased pathological internal conditions, low oxygen, malnutrition, acidic pH, poor circulation, etc., microzymas can change the status of. This is called pleomorphism. Pleo means many and morph means form. So pleomorphism means to change to many forms. These pathogens can either evolve or devolve depending on the surrounding conditions of the cell. The answer in disease processes lies in the condition of your cellular balance, or will it support the development of unwanted guests? In the early stages of acidic pH in the body's tissues, the warning symptoms are mild. These include such things as skin eruptions, headaches, allergies, colds, flus, and sinus problems. These symptoms are frequently treated or manipulated with antibiotic drugs and suppressive medications. With continued suppression of the warning signals of an acidic and nutrient-deficient environment, more serious symptoms arise with the disease driven deeper. Weakened organs and systems start to give way: heart, lung, thyroid, adrenal, the liver, kidneys, etc. Unfortunately, system manipulation with pharmacology creates a disease, creating more serious symptoms and disease conditions in the future that are totally different from the original disease. The quick fix drug game of voodoo medicine is what's causing the disease epidemic in this country and puts hospitals and doctors as the #3 killer in the US. So what is modern medicine doing with their destructive weapons of war? You can't kill microzymas, they're indestructible. You can only trigger a morbid evolution of anaerobic pathogens to molds, fungus, yeast, and cancer. It's the microzymas that are responsible for the decomposition of the soil and creating life to the soil for future plant growth. Microzymas are an indestructible living entity that cannot be destroyed by heat, antibiotics, or any other weapon of war. My view is that the toxins or the acids from the microforms combine to provoke the body to produce symptoms, of a healing crisis, to purge or eliminate the toxic residues from the nose through a runny nose, the skin through sweat, the colon through diarrhea, and increased respiration. So it is important to remember it is not the pathogens themselves which initiate disease. They only show up because of an acidic comprised cell terrain. Mosquitoes seek the stagnant water, but they don't cause the swamp to become stagnant. All disease is acid related. Degenerative diseases are the result of acid waste buildup within weak cells and organs that are too weak to clean house. When we are born, we have the highest alkaline mineral concentration, establishing the highest pH. That is why most degenerative diseases do not occur when you are young. They occur usually after 40 years of age. Bollocks, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Let me reset. Come along, come along. I'm ready. This is why most degenerative diseases do not occur when you are young. They occur usually after 40 years of age. The underlying causes of cancer, heart disease, arteriosclerosis, high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, gout, kidney disease, asthma, allergies, psoriasis, and other disorders, indigestion, diarrhea, nausea, obesity, tooth and gum diseases, osteoporosis, morning sickness, eye diseases, etc., are the accumulation of acids in tissues and cells, poor blood and lymph circulation, and poor cell activity due to toxic acidic residues accumulating around the cell membrane, which prevent nutritional elements from entering the cell. All scavengers breed like parasites. After food is digested and absorbed into the bloodstream, it is carried to all 75 trillion cells of the body via the circulatory system. The body eliminates what it can, and the remainder settles in the weaker cells. Those which are not strong enough to clean house in this accumulate in deposited dead waste matter and pustulent soup. Germs like bacteria, viruses, fungus, and parasites breed. Rotting takes place and pus, lovely, which is decomposed blood, parasites, flukes, tapeworms, hardened mucus, and other waste products form. Charmed, I'm sure. This science calls disease. I'm off now. And the name of the particular disease depends on the location of the deposits of this acidic, toxic, pustulent soup. If the accumulating deposits are in joints, it's called arthritis. If the poisonous waste matter accumulates in the pancreas and saturates the beta cells that synthesize insulin, it's called diabetes. If the toxic sludge is dumped in the lungs, it's called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's the same disease. Wherever your weakest link in the chain of organs is, that's where your genetic disposition for disease will be. If the overload is too great for the blood, excess acid is dumped into the tissues and cells for storage. Then the lymphatic system and immune system must neutralize what it can and attempt to discard the toxic waste. If exercise, acid deposits will suffocate the cells and damage DNA. If the lymphatic system is pumping through exercise and circulation, they will pick up the acid wastes and neutralize them through the kidneys. Unfortunately, they must dump them right back into the bloodstream. This will force the blood to attempt to gather more alkaline salts in order to compensate while stressing the liver and kidneys. This robs Peter to pay Paul. Body electric. The condition depends on high level of electromagnetic negative charge on the surfaces of tissue cells. Acidity is the opposite charge and dampens out these electrical fields. If tissue pH deviates too far from, if the tissue pH deviates too far to the acid side, cellular metabolism will cease and oxygen deprivation will occur. Acidity and lack of oxygen are the ideal environmental condition for morbid microforms to flourish. These are the primary symptoms of disease. So in short, acute or recurrent illnesses and infections are either the attempt by the body to mobilize mineral reserves from all parts of the body, or crisis attempts at detoxification. For example, the body may throw off acids through the skin, producing symptoms such as eczema, dermatitis, acne, or other skin disorders. Chronic symptoms result when all possibilities of neutralizing or eliminating acids have been exhausted. So unless the treatment actually removes acid from the body, and replaces nutrient building blocks, the cure at best will be only temporary and a cover-up band-aid therapy, shoving the disease deeper into a chronic state. Remember, there is not one drug on the market that reduces the acidity of the body or addresses any kind of nutritional deficiency. The sobering fact is almost all drugs are acidic, especially antibiotics, and add to their acid residues. And if the drugs were successful at removing acids from an infected area, the acid would migrate to some other weak tissue in the body that will create side effects there, unless the treatment involves the disposal of acids from all body organs. For this reason, today's medical science is pathetic when it comes to the cure for degenerative and metabolic diseases. Cancer cell growth is caused by acid. Let's take a look at cancer. If you were to ask an allopathic doctor, oh God, sorry. Let's look at cancer. If you were to ask an allopathic doctor to explain cancer in a few words, the best that they can come up with after all these years of research is a cell mutation, a missing gene, or maybe a virus causing immunosuppression. Since cancer is not a localized disease but a systemic condition, it shows up in the body's weakest links. I refer to the body's weakest links as the dead zones because they carry a declining electromagnetic charge. All healthy cells carry an electromagnetic negative charge, but fermented cells and their acids carry an electromagnetic positive charge. These rotting cells and their acids act like a glue, attracting each other because opposites attract, causing healthy cells to stick together. This leads to oxygen deprivation where healthy cells begin to rot. This is cancer. It's my conclusion. Come on, Jim. Sorry, live out. Oh, what's he up to? I'm using the bloody tablet. The sobering fact is almost all drugs. No, that's way too far back, sorry. These rotting cells and their acids act like a glue, attracting each other because opposites attract, causing healthy cells to stick together. This leads to oxygen deprivation, where healthy cells begin to rot. This is cancer. It's my conclusion based on years of research and study that cancer and AIDS are nothing more or less than a cellular disturbance of the electromagnetic balance due to acid pH disorganization of the cellular microzymas, their morbid evolution to bacteria, yeast, fungus, to molds, and their production of exotoxins and mycotoxins. Cancer, therefore, is a four-letter word, acid, especially lactic acid as a products of yeast and fungus. Dr. Otto Warburg, two-time Nobel Prize winner, stated in his book, The Metabolism of Tumors, that the primary cause of cancer was the replacement of oxygen in the respiratory cell chemistry by the fermentation of sugar. The growth of cancer cells is initiated by a fermentation process, which can be triggered only in the absence of oxygen at the cell level. Just like overworked muscle cells manufacture lactic acid byproducts as waste, cancerous cells spill lactic acid and other acidic compounds causing acid pH. If you cover your mouth, oxygen is cut off and carbon dioxide is built up as an acid waste, and you will eventually pass out through asphyxiation. And if your body's blood pH goes below 7, oxygen is cut off and you'll be put into a coma or death will occur. The blood performs a balancing act in order to maintain the blood pH within a safe range of 7.35 to 7.45. Some cells, instead of dying as normal cells do in an acid environment, may adapt and survive by becoming abnormal cells like primitive yeast cells. These abnormal primitive yeast cells are called malignant cells. Malignant renegade cells do not communicate with brain function or with their own DNA memory code. Therefore, malignant cells grow indefinitely and without order. This biological disorder is what science calls cancer. This could be improved by an alkaline diet and boosting the immune system. The rivalry. During their lifetimes, the rivalry between Bishop and Pasteur was constant and often bitter. They clashed frequently both in speeches before the Academy and in papers presented to it. Bishop repeatedly showed that Pasteur's findings included frequent plagiarizations and distortions of Bishop's own work. When Bishop and others objected to the plagiarization, Pasteur set out to use his political clout to destroy Bishop's career and reputation. Unfortunately, Pasteur largely succeeded. He was more skillful than Bishop at playing politics and attending the right functions. He was good at making friends in high circles and was popular with the royal family. Pasteur, in other words, was an A-lister. Bishop was a worker. The ideas, as well as the characters of the two men, were fundamentally opposed. Pasteur argued for what we now call the germ theory of disease, while Bishop's work sought to confirm pleomorphism, the idea that all life is based on the forms that a certain class of organisms take during the various stages of their life cycles. The difference is fundamental. Bishop believed that his work showed the connection between science and religion, the one a search after truth and the other the effort to live up to the individual belief. It is fitting that his book, Les Microzymas, culminates in the acclamation of God as the supreme source. Bishop's teachings are in direct opposition to the materialistic views of the modern science of the 20th century. These microorganisms, germs, feed upon the poisonous material which they find in the sick organism and prepare it for excretion. These tiny organisms are derived from their still tiny. These microzymas are present in the tissues and blood of all living organisms, where they remain normally quiescent and harmless. When the welfare of the human body is threatened by the presence of potentially harmful material, a transmutation takes place. The microzyma changes into a bacterium or virus, which immediately goes to work to rid the body of this harmful material. When the bacteria or viruses have completed their task of consuming the harmful material, they automatically revert to the microzyma stage. That's what to scientifically prove that germs are the chemical byproducts and constituents of pleomorphic microorganisms enacting upon the unbalanced, malfunctioning cell metabolism and dead tissue that actually produces disease. Bishop found that the diseased, acidic, low-oxygen cellular environment is created by a toxic, nutrient-deficient diet, toxic emotions, and a toxic lifestyle. His findings demonstrate how cancer develops through the morbid changes of germs to bacteria, bacteria to viruses, viruses to fungal forms, and fungal forms to cancer cells. He found microzymas present in every cell in the bloodstream, in animals, in plants, and even in rocks. He found them present in the remains of dead animals many years after the animal's body had withered away to dust. He observed that in a healthy organism, microzymas work at repairing, nourishing all. Microzymas work at repairing and nourishing all cells. And acidic, the microzymas morph into viruses, bacteria, yeast, fungus, and mold, and prepare to break the host down. So that was a bit of a mouthful, but you got there in the end. Yeah, fascinating article. Just shines a different perspective on things. And then there was a really nice one then. I was maybe a little sip of my coffee because my throat's gone dry from all that reading. This one, which again was a really uplifting, I thought, perspective on it. So this was from Pixie, who's part of our psychedelic group. Thank you, Pixie. Forwarding this message translated from Italian. Like any other virus, COVID-19 has a low vibration with a closed electromagnetic circuit structure with a resonance frequency of approximately 5.5 hertz or 14.5 or 5.5 to 14.5 hertz. In the highest ranges, it is not active, and starting with ranges of 25.5 hertz and above, the virus dies. For a person who lives in high vibes, i.e. in the soul, is no longer dangerous. It's no longer dangerous than acute respiratory infections because a healthy man's body vibrates in the highest ranges, only occasionally for various reasons slips into lower vibes. The reason for this can be various disorders in the energy balance, so fatigue, emotional breakdown, hypothermia, disease, etc. The virus in nature that is outside the body is not resistant. Earth's total average frequency resonance is now 27.4 hertz, and therefore it would be destructive to the virus. But there are places where this frequency is lowered, i.e. geopathic areas created naturally or artificially, hospitals, prisons, power lines, subways and public electric vehicles, malls, offices, drinking spaces, etc., where vibes drop to levels below 20 hertz. For in humans at low vibration, this virus is dangerous. So pain gives vibration from 0.1 to 2 hertz, fear 0.2 to 2.2, resentment 0.6 to 3.3. And I always like my friend Dean Carey give me an expression about resentment. He said, holding resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I thought, I like that. I've always held on to that one. So I share that with you all. Irritation 0.9 to 3.8, disorder 0.6 to 1, 0.9, flash of fury 0.5, rage 1 to 4, pride 0 to 8, pride, megalomania 3 to 1, 3.1 rather, abandonment 1.5, superiority 1.9, but generosity 95, thank you 45, thank you very much, from 140 hertz and above, a sense of unity with other people 144 and beyond, compassion from 150 hertz and beyond, but mercy is only 3 hertz. Love, as they say with their head, that is when a person has a good, bright and strong feeling, but has not yet learned to love with his heart, vibration of 50 hertz. The love that a person generates with their heart for all people without exceptions and all living beings from 150 hertz and beyond. Unconditional, sacrificial, universal love from 205 hertz and beyond. For millennia, the frequency of our planet has been 7.6 hertz. Physicists call it Schumann's MRI, and it's due to the lightning beating in the crawl space between the Earth and the ionosphere, which acts as a guide and resonator. A man felt, sorry, I'll say that again. So for millennia, the frequency of our planet has been 7.6 hertz. Physicists call it Schumann's MRI, and it's due to the lightning beating in the crawl space between the Earth and the ionosphere, which acts as a waveguide and resonator. A man felt comfortable in these conditions as the vibration frequency of his energy field had the same parameters, 7.6 to 7.8 hertz. The frequency has recently started to grow rapidly following the dynamic. January 1995, 7 to 80 hertz. January 2000, 9 to 30 hertz. January 2007, 9.8 to 9.80. I can't quite read these properly, sorry. Is it 980 to 980? January 2012, 1110. January 2013, 1374. January 2014, 1486. February 1499. March 2014, 1507, April 2014, 1515. Even if we consider the situation scientifically, it becomes clear that a person who doesn't increase his vibrations will soon leave the ground floor one way or another, and neither high positions nor accumulated capital will help him. So we must not be afraid. You can raise vibes by working with yourself and stimulating conscious behaviors. And P.S. Any negative emotion closes access to clear consciousness. From Carla Bastianelli, passed on from Joyce Light Messenger by a Pixie. So yes, very nice, very positive. So I guess it's how you perceive it. Now I'm not concerned about a virus, but I do empathize with those who are, you know. Everyone's got their own understanding of where we're at with it all, and for those who are kind of fully wrapped up, man, I respect that, and I'll respect your right to social distancing. But you know, for those who choose not to social distance, that's them. I think as long as people social distance from you, it shouldn't affect you. What other people do, should it? But I don't know. People think about these things differently, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, that was that one. And then the other little subjects we got on. So I had a few notes from B and from myself. So thank you, B. That's B Minia. Spirographs as visual portals. I'm sure some of you might have had spirographs as a kid, and yeah, one of our contributors was talking about spirograph and just opening up mental portals and kind of traveling, I guess, interdimensional. So that was an interesting subject. We've gone on to crop circles, I believe, briefly, and sacred geometry, including astral squares. These are the floor plan for many of the old churches, proof to 1500. And we also got into time slips, which is an interesting phenomenon. I think Paul Devlin got into that in a bit of depth on our EOTT interview. So that was an interesting one. And B had an addition to that, which was that agitated emotions create a quickening of cellular friction, and that's why we can't always find lost items. But if you go for a walk and come back, then you'll often find there they are. So that's an interesting one. We discussed the Knights Templar, who are supposedly the masters of time in French. And the Holy Grail in Roslin is vibrating at a quicker rate than everything else. And Apprentice Pillar, you know, people have felt strange sensations around the Apprentice Pillar. So that was interesting. And then we were kind of our other B Melinda was talking about first-hand experience of you know, kind of police state lockdowns in Poland, with all the shenanigans that were going on over there in the 80s. And I was saying, I think the reason they locked down was as a demographic. There'll be lots of people in LA from South America and different places where they've seen shenanigans. So when they've got friends who were born and raised there, they go, oh, I wonder, you know, what do we think is going on? They go, well, trust me, we've seen this shit firsthand from where we've come, so we know that things can occur. So I think, yeah, that was interesting to have like first-hand experience of people who kind of been there before. So it's always a nice little chat. And I know those of us are on Zoom now doing their thing, and you know, keeping in touch with friends and family, which is awesome. I've seen they've been talking about security concerns, but I'm not sure. And then, yeah, we've just got a list then basically for what we want to get on to in any of the upcoming meetings. So we might touch upon any of these subjects this evening, actually. So I think this was composed by basically everyone in the two different groups. So the Guardian Angels, Freemasonry, the Illuminati, numerology, smart versus naive people, the concept of karma, adulthood behavior, prayer, does it matter, crystal healing, gratitude, power of now, the astral realm, soul purpose, morality, and survival instinct. There's an interest. The end of 1984, I think, is an interesting observation on morality and survival instinct for any of who's read it. Near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, the soul blueprints, spirituality in the quantum, and quantum healing hypnosis technique, which I know a couple of my digital comrades, Becky Barron and Michael Martin, have trained under Dolores Cannon and do all that kind of quantum hypnosis, and accessing the subconscious, which is fascinating stuff indeed. So yes, I'm looking forward to linking up with everyone at 7:30 this evening. That should be enjoyable as always. usual regulars who haven't been on the Zoom yet. We've done 2 so far, been really good. And lots of information. So I will continue to try and take notes. Now, I've had a bit of an idea, and I'm obviously not going to be the first one, but there's loads of people now going to be off work and everyone's stuck in their houses. And obviously there's going to be a lot of people out there, I imagine, who have partners who have to go out, they're frontline emergency service or whatever, and perhaps they've got young kids at home, babies, newborns, vulnerable older parents living with them perhaps, but it is what it is. People are needed out there, and I think I was wondering, there's going to be so many people who are not able to attend to their allotments because they're either self-isolating or they're not very well. So I reached out to just our local kind of just the first one I found basically on Facebook, which is the Pickard's Fields allotment, which is over in Pinehurst. And yeah, there's been some issues, I think, like the they need to kind of, I think some of them are making rules, they're only allowing half of the people into the allotments, which doesn't seem to make sense if everyone's abiding by social distancing. But yeah, I imagine there must be shed loads of people who not only have allotments out in council allotments, but maybe in their back gardens that they're not able to tend to. So I'm just going to go over and see these guys today. They've said they've got kind of putting together as a start for people who might be in need. I think there's no reason why. Hence why I've got the yellow vest on, because you can have a little yellow vest revival. Do you know what I mean? Get out there and get out in your local community. If for those of you who need to get out and want to get out, there's people out there on the front line. You've got key services, obviously paramedics, police, fire service, but you've also got your delivery drivers, your shopkeepers, people. So for those of us who are more than willing to go out there and help, then at the end of the day, that removes a bit of worry as well, doesn't it? For those who might be worrying about how they're gonna, survive with food and stuff. We can come together as a community, and these allotments are all there. I think he said there's 150 foot by 20 foot. So I'm going to go head over there today and see what I can do, and I'll feedback this evening then and see what we can do on a local level in Swindon and see kind of get kind of coordinated and see who wants to do what. And yeah, I just thought that would be a handy little thing to do. I don't know about my grandfather did. My grandfather grew everything. I'm just going to give you a little sneaky peek. We bought some stuff just for the garden, really. Let me see if I can. Sorry, I'm really like slacking with the equipment. Just got the laptop back. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can see that. The few greenhouses for the garden, and just different packets of seeds and what do you call them? Windowsill pots and things like that. So yeah, we can all be self-sufficient. I think as long as we've all got food, pardon me, we'll be absolutely fine. We've all got shelter. They can't evict everyone. Pardon me. If the money's going to disappear, so be it. But as long as we've got food, we'll be all right. I think we'll be fine. I think I've been sent something by a couple of people. Let me see if I can find it. Which is yeah, this global meditation challenge. I'll just read it out first. On April the 4th, 2020, a tremendous astrological portal will open through which humanity will unite as one mind, one consciousness, and by so doing, we are reclaiming our independence from the financial debt slave system instituted 700 years ago, dissolve the old world structures, erase the coronavirus and the fear surrounding it, and end the 5G. Let's gather 1,111,444 people at the same exact time and create the biggest quantum impact in history. So a few people have been sharing this, and yeah, like with regards to the whole, background of, astrological portals and whatnot. I'm not too sure, but my understanding is that we are manifest beings. We do manifest and create our own universe, and I think, my understanding is we're all our own personal universe. We're all individuals, unique universes, but yet we all share this collective world together. But what's to say with the shared intent? You can't just shift timelines and move out of this world, and people can, whatever their beliefs, shift. I don't know. I'm following a few different people, the likes of Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Tom Campbell, and when you start pulling all these threads together and stuff in Anastasia, The Ring, and Cedar series, which I will get back onto, I promise. Yeah, I think we are, our intention can manifest whatever. So, but rather than, because I know there's some stuff about, 5D ascension. I'm not sure about all that kind of stuff. I really don't know. But what I did find as another little piece of the puzzle was when I was in, if you can see that, when I was vacationing at the old Windsor Hotel group a little while ago, I bumped into an old friend, lovely chap, Walshy, really good guy, and he found a book, Charles Arnold, The Master Key System, banned by the Vatican for 70 years. I was going to discuss this at Avebury the other day. I did actually do it, but the technology failed me. But yeah, the Master Key System is all about basically manifestation and the law of attraction. It's a fantastic book, but I basically jotted down essentially the key points of what it's all about. So I'll just read them out to you. So maybe with this global meditation, you could maybe write all this out and try and manifest your own universe within the collective world. I'm not sure, but I'll read it out anyway. You can see what you think. So it says you've got 7 key areas in life: personal goals, things that you want to do, things that you want to be, things that you want to have. You have relationships, friends, families, romantic, co-workers. You've got health and body, which is wellness, fitness, and body image. Career and education, jobs, school, and career goals. You have recreation, sports, hobbies, fun, and vacations. Financial, income, savings, investments, contribution, charities, community service. Then it says, now ask yourself the following questions. What is my life purpose? What are my dreams? What are my goals? What am I grateful for? What makes me happy? How would I like to grow personally? How would I like to grow spiritually? What would my perfect relationship look like? What would my ideal family life consist of? What is something I've always wanted to do? What would I like more of in my life? What would I like to do more in my life? Where would I like to travel? Where would I like to live? What would my dream home be like? What career would I ideally choose or create for myself? What are my financial goals? How can I give back within my community? Which causes or charities would I like to be more involved? If I could change the world, how would I make it a better place? And he wrote this quite a while ago, so this is, you can obviously update the premise of, some of these are probably not fitting for your particular lifestyle, whatever, but you can amend it and just take the best bits out of it really for your own manifestation. And then from Tim Ferriss, I read all his books when I was vacationing, and top guy, pioneer. My 101 goals, www.dreambigcollection.com if you're looking for some inspiration. And then basically you have your daily ritual. So you begin each day by spending at least 5 minutes focusing your mind on your desires, goals, and intentions. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and visualize all of your goals and desires as already being fulfilled. Really feel the emotions of that reality. See your day going exactly as you would like it to. And this, this just Joe Dispenza stuff. It all fits together for me in my mind anyway. Number 2, use your tools each day. Your vision book, gratitude journal, gratitude token, and affirmations will all provide tangible external inspiration and positively shift your energetic field. Make a commitment to really use these tools daily and apply them in your life. Start paying attention to how often you have emotional responses each day that are not in alignment with your purpose or creating the life you desire. Whenever you become aware of this, make the shift. Change your thoughts and feelings to those that are a vibrational match for what you want to attract. Stay focused on things that bring you joy and keep your expectations positive. And I wrote the 100 Monkey Syndrome because I think it's all about a critical mass, isn't it? I think I've kind of, my vision, I put it on video with Joe Lomax in 2017. My kind of vision for what I'd like my new earth to be, and it was very much a service to self vision. The flotation tank, the technology, but it would also help loads of other people as well. So whilst my vision was, I was thinking about other people, but primarily it was a kind of service to self, but a service to self that fed out into service of others. So yeah. It's out there. I put it out there, so I can get more specific with the kind of personal ones there. But yeah, I think that's what we can do. And on the 4th, let's see. I think every day we wake up, I think we can choose what we want. And yes, I hope you're all doing well. I hope to see some of you this evening, and I will come back with a little update in the next couple of days, probably tomorrow. Because I said to the guy earlier, I'm sure most of you will already be aware of this, but the status of the COVID-19 now, as of the 19th of March, the government is saying it's no longer considered to be a high consequence infectious disease. And that was before they locked us down, I believe. So it's not really all making sense. I think we just need to crack on. So if you are sitting at home thinking, I wouldn't mind being out a bit more, and you're fit and healthy, and everyone's circumstances is different. My personal circumstances are, my partner works on the front line in recruitment, and she's had to be out there, bless her, dealing with it day in, day out, and her daughters are self-isolated away, and they won't even come and give her a hug. I just squirt her down with holy water when she walks through the front door. The power of Christ compels you. Make sure she's not. I'm joking, obviously, but yeah, I don't believe that I'm susceptible to it and do my thing, and hopefully some of the other guys will be as well, and perhaps we might have some nice homegrown fruit and vegetables come summer and autumn and winter. But I do believe I've rambled on long enough. Let me just see. Is there anything else I needed to? Let's see who's in the old chat. See if there's any answers before I log off. Lockdown is so boring. Only boring people get bored, my friend. That's all I'm going to say to that. I jest, of course. Yes, I'm going to leave it there, I think, guys. I can't think of anything else I wanted to add in, but if I do, I'll just come back tomorrow. But stay safe, and yeah, big love to you all. See you soon.